time for you to leave this place. My cousin called me. I hadn't talked to her in 20 years. And all of a sudden, she called me and she said, I'm in Arizona. You can come and stay with me. And at that moment, I thought, okay, that's an open door, So I said, all right, packed up my stuff, let my kids know that I was leaving. I did not tell very many other people because at that time, I needed to be sure that this was what I heard and that was God's voice and all of that. And although I had heard God's voice before, this was different for me because not only did I hear it, but I got up and I started doing and moving and doing work to get to the place that God was calling me. And so when I did that, I packed my car down and I got on the road, and at that time I had this beautiful brand new car with this astronomical car note. But I knew that I was supposed to leave. And I don't know if you understand that space or if you've been in that space where you knew that it was time for you to go. You knew it was time for you to leave that place. Now, everyone I know is not nomadic like me. I'm nomadic. I could pack up and leave. It's just, I don't know. I've always been that way. But the older I get, the less I want to do that. The more I want to have some roots and, which is what I've done. But back to that story. So I packed my car and let my kids know I was leaving. And like I said, not very many other people. I had maybe two or three other people that I told, but a lot of my friends, I had friends that told that I kind of hinted at it. And they said things like, well, God wouldn't tell you to leave a place where you know to go to some place where you don't know and you don't have a job, and you don't have anything to go to. To which I usually replied that, so y'all read the Bible. He did do that to Abraham, and he took Noah through a whole flood. So why, wouldn't he tell me to go to a place that would be a land of opportunity for me? But did I know that at the time? No, I did not. But I trusted. I trusted God. I trusted my own intuition. I trusted and I moved. And so I took my stuff and I left. And when I got there, I wish I could say that everything was roses and, everything just worked out, which yes, it did. But I can't say that in the middle because in the middle, I went there, I got one job within a couple of weeks, and then I got another job within another month or so. And so I had that job for just under 90 days. And then I got fired. Not only did I get fired from one job, but I got fired from two jobs within 2 weeks. And so I didn't know what was the message for me at that moment. I knew that, I had always worked two jobs for decades. And so it was just what I knew. And so I knew that the fastest way for me to get on my feet and get my own place and all this stuff was for me to go to work. And so that's what I set out to do. So when I got fired from both of those jobs, um, I'm laughing about it now. At that time, I think I was almost in tears. But I got fired from both of those jobs. I could not find another job for 2 months. Now, listen to me. I am a nurse, and I had been a nurse for, at that point, I think about 20 years. And I could not find not one job at all in 2 months. And I was going everywhere, throwing applications out and talking to people and, trying to do things. And, there was a whole other thing at play in Arizona, but that's a whole nother story. And I'm not talking about that today. However, I could not find a job for 2 months. And so you can imagine I am a little stressed because I have this car note, this astronomical car note. And then I'm staying with my cousin who I'm not a freeloader. So I'm a person that if I stay with you, I'm going to buy groceries. I'm going to give you money, things like that. That's not me. And so I was thinking about all of that. But God had something in store for me. So I met one of the the people that is one of my mentors. And he gave me a lot of tips and tools and a lot of training on healing. We spent hours on the phone, just him giving me some of the things, the training that I needed, and some of the tools that I still use today. And so I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to work. I just went by the things that God showed me and told me to do. So in terms of my car, God told me call the people and talk to them and tell them, I don't have a job, but I'm looking for one and I'll have one soon. And if you can just put this payment on the end of the loan and then accept a half a payment. Now, y'all know typically they do not do that, but they did that for me. One thing is I followed instructions on what God told me to do. And so when you follow instructions on what God tells you to do, then things begin to work out. And so they did that for me. I still have that car. I paid that car off, actually. I still have that car today, 14 years later. It's a good car. It was a good car then. But that was, something that I went through. And it was something that shifted me because I have been through that before with my ex-husband where I think we voluntarily surrendered one car and we turned and one car they came and picked up. So I had been through that before. So my nervous system was coded to have fear around that situation. But when I was able to listen to what God, universe, Holy Spirit, angels, guides, whatever you want to call them, but I'm saying God, spoke to me and told me what to do. You call the people, because normally, what you do, you run from that stuff. You don't call them when you should. But this is what I did. So that worked out. And then after the 2 months was up, I got not only one job, I got three jobs, which, was too much. But at the time in my mind, all I could think was, okay, I need to work so I can get this money so I can get me a place because, I had stayed with my cousin for 6 months. And that's a good long time for me because I don't really like staying with people. I'm one of these people that I like my space, like my time, I like my energy, all of that. And so, and it was nothing wrong. It was just time for me to go. And so I did. I actually moved into the Suites of America, which it was just a suites. It has a little kitchen and little bedroom, and and it was just me, and it was great for me. A little expensive, but I ended up finding me a house. And so, in the middle of all of this, when I was going through those 2 months where I was trying to find a job and, doors were getting slammed in my face and nothing was coming up, and I was starting to get really frustrated. And, but I learned something through that even in the midst of all of that, if God is telling you to be there, be there. And so what I did at that time was I parked my car because, I didn't have a lot of money for gas and stuff like that. So I parked my car. I did a lot of walking and I went places and grouped activity. And, I did these things so that I would have enough. Now, um, I had a friend that told me before I left that I was going to meet my husband soon. And at that moment, I was like, I'm not looking to meet anybody. I just really want to meet myself. That was really my mindset at that time. And so here we are, August of this particular year. I met the man that is my husband today. And so I think about that. If I had not paid attention and listened to God, to source, to my intuition, and packed up my car, drove across the country to another land, basically to another land. I drove from South Carolina in the U.S. to Arizona in the US, and that's a couple thousand miles. And I drove by myself. And I think about that and I said, if I had not listened and done that, then I might not be where I am today with my amazing professional husband. Because at that time I was divorced. I had been divorced for a few years. I had been in a few relationships that didn't pan out, and then I realized that, they weren't supposed to. Because when I met my husband right there in Arizona, where I was, where he had gone. He had left New Jersey and went to Arizona. So we were both meant to be there and to meet. And so I think about that today when I share about how when you trust and you listen to your intuition and you pay attention. So now I pulled the card for us today and I'm going to share it. And this is what it looks like. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then I'm going to read it and tell you what it says. Isis, the miracle of Isis. Isis offers a miracle healing. No matter how much you have struggled with a particular matter, no matter how impossible it may seem to imagine your life without this old wound, addiction, problem, relationship issue, or inner struggle being part of it, you are guided now to accept the possibility of miraculous healing. Let go and let the goddess be. Now, I want to tell you about this card because I actually was in my bath and I was doing a releasing ceremony for myself. And so I released resistance, I released resentment of any kind, and I actually called forth the healing that I've been looking for. The healing, not that I've been looking for, the healing that I've been remembering. Because remember, we are just in the space of remembering. We are not in this space of just looking. We are remembering because these things already are. And so in that space, I actually released some of the pain because I've been having bad pain since I was diagnosis and all this stuff. And so I released that. I let it go. I said, you know what? I can release this because I felt like I had to have it because I've had it for so long and I've been dealing with it all these years. And in addition to, the scoliosis, I also had back injuries from lifting and stuff like that from the work that I've done. And so I thought that I had to hold it and that I had to baby and I had to rock it. But you know what? I had to release it and I had to let it go. And so when I got this card, I was like, wow. And I also was releasing this old abandonment wound that I felt like I have been carrying for so long. And so I was in my bath and I was releasing all of those things. And then I pull this card that talks about no matter how impossible it may seem to imagine your life without this old wound, addiction, problem, relationship issue, or inner struggle being a part of it, you are guided now to accept the possibility of miraculous healing. That is like so amazing to me. The synchronicities, yes, right, June, July. The synchronicities are just profound. It's just amazing. And so I wanted to just share that with you today and just let you know that um, life is beautiful and you can decide that it's beautiful. You can train yourself and listen to your intuition. And the thing of it is when I think back to that time, because that was 2012. So when I think back to that time, that was 14 years ago. When I think back to that time, and the things that I was going through at the time. And then also that I didn't have a mentor at that time. Like I didn't have any type of guidance, but from source. And I truly believe that if we will decide that we are going to be guided by source, by God, by the universe, and we just come to that place where we know that we've got here as we learn and as we grow and as we do these things and we take accountability for ourselves, to ourselves. Because what I've learned is that so many times we just give away our power, and we just it's like we put ourselves in a cage. We put ourselves in a box. But it's now time for us to release all of that, and also to call back every piece of you from every time, space, and dimension and timeline. Call back all parts of you, because there are times when we give pieces of ourselves away, especially sexually. When you are with someone sexually intimately, you give pieces of yourself away. And so right now, I call back all pieces and parts of me from every time, space, and dimension. Now, now, now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So make sure that you're checking out my podcast, Straight Out of Savannah, where the magic happens. We are talking about all things spiritual authority and midlife reinvention from a spiritual perspective. So I'm super, super excited to do this show. And so it's right here on Substack. So make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and that you download the podcast. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can also watch it on YouTube at Intuitive Tammi on my YouTube channel. You can also listen to it wherever you listen to your podcast, on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever. Listen Now, Radio Breaker. It's all over the internet. And also, I would love it if you would check out my website at intuitivetammy.love. And I also have some workshops that are coming up. Make sure that you're following me, because I'm going to be talking about those. And definitely check out the membership. Become one of the remembrance, where we're going to do some amazing rituals. We also we do a live Zoom monthly. Also, we're going to do some amazing rituals. And then you have an opportunity, being a member of the Remembrance, to have your own GPT, because I have created a GPT that is inside the membership. That is how you access. But the reviews that I heard from it so far is amazing. And I love creating it. And it was so fun to do. Actually, myself. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And I will definitely be back again to chat with you again live. And I hope your day is magical. Bye now.